Hello, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Roger Hunt, Unscripted. I am your host, Roger Hunt. You know, as we've watched several episodes of Straight Talk with Roger Hunt, Unscripted, we pray and do hope that some of the shows that we've had on have been inspiring, informative, bringing hope, and also educational. Again, we invite you to write in, to respond to the shows that we have on, and also your continued support. We appreciate your donations and your offerings so this show can continue on the AIB network. Tonight's special guest, and I mean to tell you, this young lady is phenomenal. She is from St. Louis, Missouri, living here in the ATL. A very good friend of mine. I've watched her grow up back home in St. Louis, and at the same time, she's a future award-winning book author. We're going to talk about her book, Loving Legit, Real Love Begins at Home, none other by StriaghtTalkSerenaKing. It's a novel by StriaghtTalkSerenaKing. But when we come back from seeing a few messages, though, I want you to sit down and listen to what this future book author has to say about loving legit. I think you will be inspired about what she has to say about the true meaning of love and where it comes from. So when we come back, stay tuned for more Straight Talk with Roger Hunt, Unscripted. Welcome back to Straight Talk with Roger Hunt, Unscripted. As we said before, we're talking to a future award-winning book author, Miss StriaghtTalkSerenaKing. Miss StriaghtTalkSerenaKing is from the St. Louis, Missouri area, but now living here in Atlanta, Georgia. Miss King, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Straight Talk with Roger Hunt, Unscripted. And at the same time, I've been knowing you for, since you were like this, so, but not to tell my age or anything or your age, though, but seeing you grow up back in St. Louis and with a great family and everything that you did come up with. Tell us a little something about yourself and what brings you to Atlanta.
So, yes, my name is Serena, and I am a first-time author.
Okay.
I'm actually an account manager during the day, so I work in the soda equipment industry.
Okay.
What brought me to Atlanta in 2006, I actually came here and I attended college at Clark Atlanta University. So
Okay.
I hold a BA in journalism.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, what else is good about yourself?
What else is good about me? Okay, so
Besides being this juicy author.
What else is good about me? So I love food. I'm a big foodie. Atlanta has like a lot of really good restaurants down here. One of the really good ones is Port Calvin's. It's like a hint of Asian and like Southern hospitality.
Oh, wow.
So if anybody ever wanted to come to Atlanta and try that,
so that'll be the place to go.
That's the place to go.
So tell us. I mean, you like food? I don't know because I don't know where it's. If you eat it, I don't know where it's going on you because I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to grab something here. You have this book called Loving Legit, Real Love Begins at Home. And it's a novel. I just want our viewers to see this right here. It's a short novel. It's small. This is your first book, correct?
Yes, first book.
Okay. And before we get into the book, I'm going to ask you some other questions, though. But what was it like? I understand that you are also a foster child. Former foster child. Tell us about that experience.
The experience was, I think, in some instances, kind of traumatic.
Okay.
Because I was old enough to understand what was going on.
Okay.
My life, prior to that was that of, being surrounded by drugs and, alcoholism and abuse, from my father. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women don't know that there are like several different sorts and types of abuse.
Abuse, correct.
There's physical, there's the verbal, there's even emotional.
The emotional, the mental, all of that
right.
goes along.
So they were marked as unfit. And when I was 11, I really didn't know what, wards of the court meant. I didn't know what, your parental rights being revoked meant. And that basically meant that, you can no longer see your family anymore. You're going to be placed with this family permanently until you age out of the system at 18.
Okay. So were you, now this all this happened in St. Louis when you were coming up in St. Louis?
This all happened in St. Louis.
Okay. So were you placed with the family back in St. Louis?
I was placed with a permanent family. We moved around, a few times, and then I was placed with a permanent family when I was 10 and a half, 11.
Okay. Now, were there other siblings? that came up in the household with you at the time?
Yes, I have one sister who is actually 3 years younger than I am. So we grew up in the same home, and then the rest of my sisters, which there are 6 girls altogether, were kind of like in other, foster homes. We kept in contact, but my youngest sister is actually still like out there lost somewhere. I don't have any contact with her.
Gotcha. Okay, so with everyone being moved around, shuffled around, imagine they're all over 18 now at this
Yes.
point. So tell us, what was it like growing up with 6 sisters? I mean, you end up being, you say you were the oldest, right?
The oldest girl, yes.
Okay, so you end up pretty much doing a lot for your young siblings then, correct?
Right, and that started from a very young age because, my mom was out like working multiple jobs trying to take care of us. And a lot of the times I was at home like by myself watching them at 9.
Oh, wow.
So I would miss school sometime. And then I actually, in 4th grade, people say, where do you get this notion of, you're not good enough or you can't do something? I had a 4th grade teacher snatch me out the classroom because I had straight F's in her class.
Oh, wow.
And say, you will never be anything. This is why, you're the way you are. And little did she know I was going home to traumatic events every single night.
Mm-hmm. So tell us, so eventually you got out of that situation, as traumatic as it was. Tell us, where were you end up, who did you end up in place with? What type of family did you end up in place with?
So the family,
or Division of Family Service, they placed you somewhere?
Yeah, DFS, they placed us with a family. And, my family was really loving. My mom was a teacher, so she was really, like, big on education and, like, just really going for what you want. And, that, like, really just gave me the drive and the ambition that I needed. Like, I had an uncle that was a dentist, so there was a lot of people, like, in my family who, were successful. And I got to see, like, spouts of that. And that's why I am where I am now.
Okay. So, and I'll just go ahead and say, because I know the family personally and everything, we don't have to make it a big secret, or anything like that. And you're referring to Anna, back then it was Anna Polly, but it's Anna Moore. Anna Moore, she said, I can't use the J-O. I can't use the J-O. So if she's watching this segment, she's going to, AJ, call her AJ, huh? But we just call Anna Moore. And actually the idea that came to get you on the show was from Elijah Moore. And, he said, hey, Rod, she's like, Serena's down in Atlanta. I'm always here. So, I mean, this is my other home for me, too. So it's almost a personal story for me to come down and to interview you, to see you, have grown up and done so well for yourself. And then, of course, a great loving family, the Sams, back in St. Louis. They are great people, so that was a great thing being placed with such a loving family as God has placed you with the people that he did place you with. Now, to get back to this, so you being who you are, you come to Atlanta, you go to Clark. What in the world possessed you? And you've been as successful, at the firm that you're at now, and you decided to venture off into become an author. What made you go that route?
Well, I've been writing since I was in the 7th grade.
Okay.
Because it was always like a form of therapy for me. I would say, I'm extroverted in a sense, but back then I was really introverted. So it was hard for me to express myself, and the best way to do that was like through literature, through like actually physically getting a pen and paper and writing. So I decided I wanted to write an actual novel because I was trying to understand myself. Like along the way, I feel like we get a little lost, right?
Right, exactly.
And then we got to go and we got to find ourselves again. So I was dating when I was in college, and, when I left St. Louis, it was just kind of like, let me just shuffle all of my past, situations with my father and my family underneath the rug, and I'm not going to deal with those emotions anymore. So I basically compartmentalized them. Guess what? All of those entities started to resurface when I was dating. I said, why am I attracting guys who are kind of like egotistical a little bit, maybe emotionally abusive? Like, why am I dealing with this stuff? So I was just really wanting to understand myself. And in order for me to do that, I needed a pen, I needed my paper, and I needed, my...
kind of clear your mind out, kind of write something. and that's one of the things, we talk about, and again, by no means am I a psychologist. I tell it to my guests because what we find out, and speaking to various clinicals, I had one clinical psychologist that I often speak with, and one of the things that we do suppress images are events to our subconscious, and when certain events resurface, it takes you back to that moment.
Exactly.
And now these events that have happened in your past start to resurface, and now all of a sudden you're trying to figure out what's going on. What are you do, how you deal with it, how you cope with it. And in dealing with, you said putting the pen to the paper, and putting the pen to the paper at any event in your life and time when you were doing this, while you were doing this, did you find yourself getting angry and bitter because of some of the events of the past as you were writing?
I did. A lot of emotions started to come back up, like stuff that I was just like, wow, this is kind of making me sick a little bit. Like, wow. I don't feel good right now, Mm-hmm. And just thinking about, the way I had to grow up, I'm like mad at my dad all over again. And I'm like, that's when I found out I hadn't really forgiven him. Mm-hmm. Like, I had forgiven myself. I was mad at God for a long time. Like, when I was 17, I would say all the time, what did I do so wrong mm-hmm. to, live this sort of life or to go through these, like, traumatic events? And, as I was writing, I began to realize that mm-hmm. it was to bring me to this very moment.
Right.
Because there are young girls that need to hear stories like this. Right.
And again, that's part of Straight Talk with Roger Hunt Script. That's part about what we do, what we try to bring to our viewers, that's watching, that's listening. Mm-hmm. And to let them know that you're not in this alone, whatever your plight or your path may have been in the past. That doesn't mean that you have to stay there. Mm-hmm. And so with you telling your story, the way that you're telling your story, and some of the things we're going to get into your book in a minute here, we want to share that information, that there's hope, that they still can do it, even if someone tells you no. And I understand that, you were told no, your fourth grade teacher, told you, even with the straight F's. I mean, someone looking back then and not knowing about now, would probably say, wow, I just really didn't see that she can make it. How does that make you feel in seeing that you're able to go from that period of someone telling you no to where you're being a successful young African-American woman doing what it is that you're doing today?
I think it's mental. It's about your mentality. I mean, we wake up every single day. We have free will. And then the world is your oyster. Like, there's so many opportunities out here. Like, you really don't have to compete with anybody. All you have to do is create, the life that you envision for yourself. And so when I started realizing that, I was just like, no, I'm not my past. I'm not what people, said to me or about me. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to attach myself to that any longer. Right. And so that's when the healing starts. That's mm-hmm. when you start to realize that you have to forgive. And that's why I have this mirror in my kitchen. Mm-hmm. Like, every single day I have to wake up and I have to look in that mirror and I have to say, Serena, you are loved. Mm-hmm. You're going to win today. Like, it doesn't matter, because, see, the thing is, when you go through traumatic events, you are okay when you're out and you're around people and you're smiling, and it's okay to be at parties and stuff. But wait until you get still. Mm-hmm. That's when you have to face
yourself, and then
you gotta face all that stuff all over again. Mm-hmm. And some people, they're one way when they go outside, and then when they come home, it's just like they don't even really like themselves.
Right.
They don't like to be alone.
So it's almost like we put on this front, sort of say, amongst our peers and our
social media members. Makes that so easy.
Right, to do that. It's like, but if they really got to know the true Serena's, like, as to what's going on, then they would understand. I'm going to kind of divert a little bit. I want to get back into this book, Loving Legit. And I'm going to tell you, I made sure I put on the right, I'll try to put some, I don't know what your favorite cologne is. I try to put some good smelling cologne on. I'm just saying, you guys, you gotta get this book. I mean, I could put it down. It's Loving Legit, Real Love Begins. I'm so proud of you. I mean, I look at this book and it's like, wow. Came through the system, excelled through it, and a great family back home. But then came down here to Atlanta, did your thing, and you even autographed it for me. Wow, that's great. But Loving Legit, I mean, you talk about a woman's search for love and everything, and then some of the circumstances. Now, I'm not Jerome, I'm not Anthony, Drake, Blake, all those guys in this book. But I saw you're going to have to get the book to kind of really know the story. But one of the characters in the book, we'll just talk about Anthony. I think, you got to go through the rest of the book to find out. I think that's a cool brother. I mean, I know what he did in the beginning. I was going to tell this part. I got to tell this part. There's a part in this book, even before I do that, I kind of mark this, again, this book here, the book, magazine, you get the magazine that you would work on, Monica Walker. Yes. She's the CEO of this magazine. And it's a magazine that caters to women aged 25 to 40. covers stories on lifestyle, health, relationships, and family. You know, and even with this book, the magazine covering those issues, this book also covers, and you can say that it's for women, but also some issues that maybe when men read this book as well,
right,
they can see themselves in this book. You know, some of the events and circumstances they go through. Is that not true?
That is true, and it gets them to tap into a little bit of the woman's psyche, like how we think, especially women who have come from like hurtful backgrounds.
So now this book. Now tell us a little bit about Loving Legit. What's this book all about? In a nutshell, if you can.
So in a nutshell, it's loving real, because legit in urban terms means real. So I kind of I didn't coin that phrase, but I just thought that it would allow my book to stand out from, other authors. And then it would get people looking at it like, who is legit? Or what is legit? So it'll raise a question, and then they'll be like, oh, well, maybe I should read this. And then you'll really get the juice of it once you read it.
You talk about a little about the thug acting brothers, the successful brothers that are in the book and everything, and the not so successful brothers that are in the book. But then here you, this self-empowered, polished woman that this executive and everything and doing what she's doing, Monica. And I mean, when I'm reading this, I'm like, wow, she really told it. You told the story. And as we were talking, off camera a little bit, some people are going to say they don't like it because they fit the mold of what's being written, what was written in this book. And then on the other hand, they'll say, well, this is me all the way. So you'll see yourself in the story. And again, you writing this book helps others.
Right.
Come through a point and period in their life just like, yeah, that's me. I can relate to that. And a lot of times we put our own self, we canvas our own self emotion into this book here. And that's kind of what you've done. Now, how many books have you written again?
So that's my first book, but I actually have a couple of other projects that I'm working on.
Okay.
And, that's to be determined. So people will have to go to my website.
And I got a little sneak preview of one of them anyway, which I think is awesome too. And then I understand that there's a possibility, or you are working on this for us being a mentor as well. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that part of it.
So right now I'm a mentor, and I have several mentees, just people that just kind of look up to me. I used to work as a camp counselor when I was in St. Louis, and I did that for about 5 years. So I really like kids, like working with kids and inspiring them and such. And so there's an organization here called Karen and Sharon, and it's for young girls, like uplifting and, getting them ready for college and all that different stuff. So I have one mentee right now who's in the 7th grade, and I'm actually meeting with her today. And I'm helping her, write her first novel as well. So.
So let me ask you this: did the teaching aspect come from your foster mom back home, or your mom back home?
It really
I don't like to use the term foster mom. I just like
she's my mom.
We call her mom because we know she's mom. I don't like to use the term
I have
mom.
several moms.
Right, we all do. We all do like to say mom of the women, especially if they're very meaningful to us. But is that where the inspiration came from to help other kids?
It really did. And, when I went back home when I was in college, sometime I would go and I would, volunteer at her school because she works, kind of like at an alternative school. So, I mean, some of those kids like really need like the extra push. And so for me to come out and like be a mentor and say, hey, like, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. Like your current circumstance is not going to determine where you're going to go in life.
Right.
And so that's really my message for them.
Now, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're actually going to get Mom on the line.
Uh-oh.
So in the meantime, we want our viewers out there to don't go anywhere because Loving Legit, real love begins at home. She has some information on the internet as well, so you can go out to the internet and search this book. You'll find some stuff out there. And we're going to tell you at the end where you can also get this book at as well. But when we come back, we're going to talk to Anna Moore out of St. Louis, Missouri. We're going to bring her on. But the goal was to kind of Skype with her, but she didn't want to Skype, or we couldn't get the Skype going and so forth. So, but
she's not feeling too well too. So
I can't get it, but she's excited about speaking with us and everything. So we're going to get a perspective from Mom when we come back. So stay tuned. You're watching Straight Talk with Roger Hunt, Unscripted.
Join us here on the AIB Network Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. for a Straight Talk with Roger Hunt Unscripted. Host Roger Hunt will explore the lives of others in many arenas of our society with discussions that will inform, inspire, encourage, and enlighten those who we interact with in our daily lives. Featuring hot topics in the news, experts in their field, intimate interviews, and great entertainment. Join us for Straight Talk with Roger Hunt Unscripted on the AIB Network Thursday nights at 8:30.
Okay, and we are back. And while we were supposed to have Sister Anna Moore with us on the phone, we're not able to get her, but that's okay. That's the beauty of magic of television. But at the same time, we have the lovely Serena King here. We're talking about her book, Loving Legit. Real Love Begins at Home. Before we get to, tell us where we can get this book at.
So you guys can actually go to my website. It's SerenaRking.com, and I actually have my Amazon and Barnes & Noble's links there. Or you can go directly to Amazon or BarnesandNobles.com. You can purchase the book there. Or if you'd like a signed copy, you can actually email me at kingpublishingllc@gmail.com, and there I'll give you all of the information you need for me to send you a signed copy.
All right. So you heard it. So now tell us a little bit more about this book here. I'm gonna let you help your book there. Loving Legit. Tell us a little bit more about the juicy stuff that's in there.
All right, so I actually attached 3 different words to this book. One was adversity, one was for love, and then the last word was for peace. And the reason why I did that was because in this particular book, I outlined some of my adversity. I talk about how Monica is actually, ultimately, if you read the back cover, it's all about her wanting to find like love in a man. But if you read between the lines, it's more so of her needing to learn how to love herself in order to attract to her what she one day desires.
Right. And you almost have, in order to love someone else, you really do have to love yourself.
Right. And you know what happens these days, especially as we get older as women, you know, people put all of these like pressures on us to have kids and to get married and stuff like that. So we're all like fighting for the ring. And it's like, do you even know like who you are? Like you're going to get with another person and say, oh, I'm looking for my other half. Literally, you're not looking for your other half. You're looking for a whole other complete person. But in order for you to attract that, you need to be that yourself. When you have 2 incomplete people that come together, what is that? That's an impossibility. Yeah. You know, you kind of deplete each other's energies. And so, you know, me going through my own personal experiences with relationships and such, I kind of outlined that in this book. And I do that by way of, you know, Monica expressing herself or showcasing herself through her journal entries. And then she also has poetry that she does as well.
So you know, is it poetry meaning spoken word, or is this poetry you just...
Well, I mean, that was just like something that I'd like to do, and then I just incorporated it in the book.
Because I noticed that in the book you have some. I said every now and then you have an excerpt, you have a poem there. I'm like, I need more. Yeah. You know, so you start, I guess, based on an event that happened.
Exactly.
You come back out and kind of summarize your note taking your journal with a poem. That I'm like, man, this woman really can write.
Yeah, and her overcoming her adversity, you know, it's her way of like, I can really go for whatever I want in my life. Like, I have my own magazine, I'm running it, I'm successful, but there's still a hole. Like, there's still something missing. And a lot of people, they'll try to use material possessions, they'll try to use, money and even like another person to fill this void. But ultimately, you know, if you believe in God, He's the only one that can really fill that for you.
So believing in God and your own personal Savior, and writing this book, I mean, because you're self-published.
Yes.
How hard or how easy was it for you to do this?
How hard?
just stepping out. It's like, I want to publish a book. I want to write.
No. I mean, and people, they see it now and they're just like, oh, well, she came out with a book. Maybe this was just released yesterday. No, this was like a 2 to 3 year process. I actually set up a crowdfund and I raised over $3,000 in order to pay for my editing. A lot of people don't know that it costs a lot of money if you want to get like a really good editor. A lot of people don't know that there's like 5 different editors. A lot of people don't know that, you need specific, editing for your book. So for my book, I needed content and developmental editing.
Okay.
So I actually had to go out and scout for an editor that, offers those services.
Specifics.
Some editors charge by the hour. Some editors charge, per line. Some even by word. So it's just all about like doing your homework and just really like sitting down and mapping out. Another thing is, like you said, getting organized. So all I had was a broken heart, a journal entry, and a pen. I didn't even know how to construct a book at all.
Wow.
Upon doing my research and finding out about all the different sorts of editors and types of editing, I was like, I need a plot summary.
Wow.
I need an outline of how I actually want to structure this book. Another thing I will add too is that, you just got to get to writing. Don't think so much, about just getting to the destination of just having like a tangible item.
Right.
Think about the journey and find out exactly like why you're writing this book. A lot of people do things in life and they don't even know why they're doing it.
Just to be doing it.
Yeah, you're just doing it just to do it, so you got to really get passionate about it and ignite fire.
So the King Publishing, you got your own publishing company. You set out and you got your editors, the various types of editors. With doing all of that, you got a forthcoming memoir coming up. Do you find the process, is it getting easier for you, or you still have some of the stepping stone that you set forth in motion the first time? Is it a little bit easier for you now?
It's a little bit easier because, now before I even sit down and write, I ask myself, Serena, why are you writing this? Who's your market? Who's going to read this particular, book? And those are questions that I think are very pertinent to you actually getting to having like the tangible book, because once it's done, you got to know like who's going to buy it.
So with this book here, although you have a certain demographic and geographic area that you want to already market the book to, but however, as far as men, women, it can go for both, right?
Yeah, definitely. So prior to me publishing the book, I actually had a couple of guys read it, and then I actually had a couple of ladies read it and give me their testimonials on what they actually pulled out of it. And I'll just specifically, parlay over and talk about the guys. And the guys were just like, wow, when I saw the title of this book, I'm just like, I'm not reading this. This is going to be some male bashing book. But then when they actually got in there, they was like, wow, this was really powerful. And I even learned some stuff about myself as a man.
Yeah.
So that was like really the turning point for me.
And I think if the guys read the book, and again, you see some of yourself in the book coming up, especially talking about your teenage days, your college days, dating life, and then some of us as adults, as I told your mom, I said I saw myself in the book back when I was 17, 18 years of age.
The nostalgia, yeah.
But then even as an adult, those who are back out, quote unquote, on the dating scene as adults, young adults, or you got seniors dating as well, you start to see yourself again in the book or what have you. And it becomes more almost to the realism. It's like, this is me all over again. Because you're going back to where you were in the past, and now all of a sudden in the future, dang, I did this back when I was in my teens and 20s. And you find yourself, even as a young man, young woman, living the same life back over, just a different time.
Exactly.
So